Hey guys, in this video here, we're gonna install the Redman Studio Spengler replacement tube for the Hasbro Neutrona wand. First thing we're gonna need to do is take your wand, flip it over, and if you look closely, you'll see these four circles here, here, and here. These are little pegs that are covering some screws that we need to access underneath. So we're gonna have to remove these pegs, and unfortunately, it does require destroying them. The first method you can try is getting a screwdriver and using a small screw bit. Just slowly, carefully drill into the center and don't go too deep because you don't want to hit the screw. And then take any random screw and screw that in. And then take some pliers and try to yank it out. Oh, that one came out easily. Unfortunately, depending on your wand, you might need some resistance as some of them are glued in a lot stronger than others. So we're very fortunate in this one, but let's try a different one. Alternatively, if you don't have a screwdriver, if you have a pair of scissors or something, you can use that instead to just dig a hole. Let's see how well that worked. There, that one came out pretty easy as well. So we're just going to continue on with the other two here. You don't have to screw it in too deep, just a little bit to get enough grip is all you need. And wow, very minimal effort. And just for reference, this is the new 84 wand. In my previous experience with the original Spengler wand, some of these had a real tough time taking them out. They were glued in quite strong. So, you know, it depends on which one you have. And next, we're gonna have to screw these out. If you see some debris in there, like a little bit of glue, brown glue, you can try to clean that up before you remove the screw. When you're satisfied, go ahead and take them out. And once those are unscrewed, you can take off the gun jack here. And removing that will expose a few more screw holes here that we're gonna need to tackle. So yeah. And for this, you might need a longer screwdriver. And then now we can separate the two halves and open it up. If your barrel is retracted, make sure you have it extended. Take a small flathead and lift up this little spring here off this post. Like that. And then we can turn this aside and now expose this screw underneath and go ahead and take that one off. And before we continue this section, let's turn our attention back to the front here. So next we're gonna have to remove the emitter tip. And there's no real special thing about it. It's just glued in real tight and you're just gonna have to keep trying to pry it off. And hopefully you have a version that comes off easily. There you go. Now that one wasn't too hard. I've had previous versions where this top part came off with this because it was glued on really tight. Okay, and with that off, we can go back to this section here. And now that the screw is off, we can just pry this upwards until this whole thing comes off. And before we slide this out, we're gonna need a little bit more slack with the barrel LED tube cable here. So you see in this new 84 version, it's wrapped around this post here. Just gently try to pry that off. It'll probably actually be easier if we disable the cable first. And to do that, I'm just let you know, do not pull on the wires here. These things are quite thin and delicate. You do not want to damage that. So we're going to have to try to pull off from the housing. And that's the safest bet. These are JST PH connectors, and I'm going to let you know they are stubborn as heck. What I like to do is if you see here in the front tab here, I like to take some tweezers and just stick it in between the housing and then the connector that's on the wand board like that. And then if you have another pair of tweezers or some pliers, try to get your pliers around the housing and just pull that up. There. And now that we have that safely disconnected, you can try to shimmy this through. Just take your time, be careful. Again, these wires are delicate, you don't want to break them, so just go slowly if you need to. Another word of advice, now that we have this open, if the speaker is not securely in, so if you turn this upside down, it could fall out and then might pull on the speaker wires, and those could break. So if you want to be extra safe about it, just take some painter's tape or whatever and just have it taped down so it's secure. Okay, next let's go back to this spot here. Now that everything's disconnected, this just comes right out like that. Easy peasy. The next step is to remove this front clear piece. And how we do that is, if you look very closely right here, can you guys see that on the camera? See that little white spot? There's a pin inside here that goes through to the other side. So you go to the other side. Again, right where my screwdriver is. It's very difficult to capture it on camera here, but there's a little white spot right there. So, nothing to it. Just, we're gonna have to try to just make a hole. You can use a screwdriver, you can use something thin and sharp. I'm just using my screwdriver here. The material isn't too hard, so it can't break easily. You don't really need anything special. No special tools needed. So you just need to break enough of one side so that that silver pin, the metal pin inside that you can see, that has enough room to come out. So we gotta do that to the other side as well. Okay, and once you think you've cleared enough the holes on both sides, from the top of it, assuming this piece here is the top, you can just take your screwdriver and push it through. And then take some pliers and pull it out. And then if you notice, if you look up close, one side here is knurled. Just for your own reference, the knurled side came from the bottom part of it. So it came out like this. So when you're gonna have to reinstall this later, this is where the knurled side is. And with that removed, this can come off cleanly. Now you have the whole inside exposed here. There you go. Now putting these aside for now, we're going to turn our attention back to the front of the wand here, where we're going to remove this banjo. And the easiest way to do that is to take a soldering iron and heat it up, and take some pliers. Now you might think that this is a real screw and all you need to do is unscrew it like you would normally, but it's actually more like a metal tooth that's joined together inside here with another plastic piece. So the easiest and cleanest way to remove this is to take a soldering iron, heat it up, and just apply the soldering iron tip to the screw. Just leave it there for a bit so that it heats up, and this should melt the plastic piece that's connected to inside a little bit, giving you the ability to pry this off. Whoops, there it goes. Be careful, mine went flying. So yeah, nice and easy. Nice and clean. And with all the preparation out of the way, now we can get to the fun stuff. So take out your inner tube again and grab these two pieces from your Redman kit. And these two just connect in together just like this. Before you do that though, even though they are pretty tightly fit, it is advised to add a dab of glue on the inside there. If you played around with your Hasbro Neutrona wand, you know that those things shoot out quite violently, and there's a good chance that this will dislodge from it. So I'm going to be using some super glue. And I'm just going to put a couple of dabs of where the tube sits inside on the white piece there. So with the glue down, I'm just going to push it in. And once that's dry, you can give it a test to see how strong it is. Yeah, I think that's in there pretty good. Next, we're going to need to remove the diffuser here from this kit. We actually won't be using it. So you just need to slide that off. And before we put this on, you want to make sure that the glue inside is dried up. Because when we push these together, depending how much glue you put in, some excess might have squeezed out and might be on the inside there somewhere. And you don't want that glue to get stuck to the foam piece here. So just make sure that's dry. And then when you're satisfied, go ahead and match this notch up with the one here. And before we slide it on, make sure that the LED strip here is parallel to the barrel tube here. And if you're satisfied with the orientation of the LED, just go ahead and slide it in. Okay, looks like that is a perfect fit. My LED strip spun a little bit. That's okay. Let's take some pliers or tweezers. I'm just gonna gently turn it until it matches. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. And then next, we're gonna take that pin and we're gonna insert back in the hole. But before we do that, just look through the hole and make sure it's clear. Make sure that this LED wire isn't blocking it. You don't want to push down and accidentally snag on that wire and damage it. So just make sure that LED wire is out of the way. If you're unsure, you can always just get some tweezers and just gently stick it in and push it aside. And if it looks good, just push it in. It'll be easier if you use a tool of some sort. There. Now it's all the way in. Nice and solid. And yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I think I'm satisfied with that. So let's go ahead and put it back together. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention before I put this all together again. If you don't like the foam piece either, this is the perfect time for you to do your own thing. You can ditch the foam altogether. I've been told by Danny Redman that someone in one of the groups did a black acrylic wash on the LED itself and just ditched the foam and the acrylic piece here. And that looked great, apparently. So, you know, that's something you can do if you want to change it up before you put it back together. So that's just some personal customization that if you want to do, now's a good time to do it before you close it all up. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and put it all back together. Before we slide it in, just in case if this thing turned, if you notice, they made a new notch here on the 84 one. That's to prevent from this wire getting clipped, which was an issue with the original Spengler ones. So there are holes here. You're just going to make sure that this is lined facing up and this is facing inside the wand. So go ahead and slide it in and just slide it back and forth manually just to make sure it's smooth. Make sure there's nothing snagging it, nothing else we need to do to customize it. So for example, it looks like my LED isn't quite as lined up like I want it to. And with this part here facing up, lined up with the holes, you can go ahead and put it back on the two little pegs inside the wand. So this part here has to sit inside those little groove for it to sit flush. And you know you got it when it looks like this. Okay, and then take this screw, screw it back in on the second one. Take the spring and clamp it back over this post here. If you have any issue with the spring rubbing up against the screw underneath and it makes a sound that you don't like, this one seems to just clear just fine. You can just put a piece of electrical tape over that screw there and that will make this slide over it smoothly. That's only if you have that issue. Next, reinstall this cable. This is optional, but if you can put this, try to put this cable back through these posts here, just like the way it was originally. But I'm finding it quite difficult to do, and I don't think it's really necessary. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it, and I'm just gonna plug it right back into the slot here on the motherboard. Give it a few tests to make sure everything's moving smoothly. Double check this area here, make sure the wire's not pinching. And if everything looks good to you, we can go ahead and close this part back up. And let's screw it back up. Oh, also a suggestion or word of warning or whatever you call it. Do not screw these overly tight. You don't need to make it really tight. You'll find that if you do mod your wand a lot and you're going in and out all the time, over screwing it, you're just going to end up stripping the plastic inside, and later on you're going to find out that the screws aren't holding it together as well as before. So just turn it until it's just tight enough, and if it feels fine, yeah, that's all you need. You don't need to overdo it. Put on the gun track. Once again, no need to overdo the screws. As soon as you feel it tighten, just leave it. It's optional. It's up to you if you want to reinsert these caps or not. I'm just going to leave it as it is. If you don't like that the caps have a hole in it, there are 3D printed files that you can get as well. But if you're part of the Ghostbusters community, a good chances is you're not done modding, so you're probably going to go back in there. So just leave it alone. And moving on to the final step, we're now going to install the banjos and the emitter tip. Now, depending when you purchased your kit, you might have only gotten the one screw here with the initial first version, or you might have gotten the newer version now that includes an extra screw and a brass insert here. So these represent two different ways of installing the banjo. So for both of these methods, you're going to need to take a drill and you're going to need to enlarge the hole a little bit. The drill bit that I used is a 3/16. Make sure you do drill down as far as you can go. I think there is a screw right underneath where that cap is. When I drilled mine, the cap actually popped out. Let's see if I can get it out again. Yeah. So you're gonna want to go drill all the way up to there at the very least, and then test it out to make sure that this fits all the way down, like about that much. And then you should be good to go. And for method one, unfortunately, even though it is a self-tapping screw, I personally tried it. I could not get it to just thread the thing manually. So take a glue gun and fill this hole up with hot glue. And take your banjo, insert the screw, and with the hot glue in it, you just have to press it in and let the glue dry. I'm unable to demonstrate this completely for you in this video because I need to show the other method, but here's a video of Danny Redman who has done the installation this way. He used some high temperature hot glue, and as you can see, it's done very well, and the banjo is securely in the wand, and it doesn't seem to have any issues.
Just feels solid because that hot glue just kind of encases around the threads. The hot glue is good just because it's very reversible. Same thing with a little bit of E6000. You just got to let this sit over time. But anyway, that's what I did.
But if you're someone who likes to do things correctly and maybe like to be able to unscrew it whenever they need to and screw it back in, then this method 2 is perfect for you. Just need a brass screw here. And you don't want to drill the hole too big, otherwise this won't have anything to hold on to. So using this brass insert, we're going to put the smooth end of it going into the wand. So that means this is the tops. So we're going to place that onto your soldering iron like that and let that heat up. Shoutouts to Jeffrey N and Shannon O for sharing this method. This is how I came across it. You guys probably have seen them around. They're legends on the GB prop community on the Facebook groups. And once that's heated up, you just go ahead and slowly push that straight through. And then you just push in until it's nice and flush. Just like that. Very easy, very clean. Just give that time to cool off. Also, open your window. Oh boy, this plastic stinks. Open the windows and do not inhale that toxic plastic, please.
Important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
And be careful of your soldering iron. Don't do what I did here with this boo-boo. Oh no. And once you have it flush, you can take a knife to cut off the excess plastic. Be very slow and gentle. It's very easy to just have this thing go swipe and cut yourself or break something. Like here I am. Don't do this. Look how stupid I am cutting it towards me. Make sure you're cutting away from yourself. Okay, and when you're done that, you can go ahead and screw in the banjo. There you go, nice and tight. Easy peasy. Okay, so now the final thing is the emitter tip, and this is just gonna friction fit over the tube. So just be careful, just slowly and gently twist it back and forth until it slides on. Not much to this, just be gentle with it. You're just literally slowly sliding it back and forth until it goes on. You don't want to put too low, you want to make sure your wand still closes. And that is it. You have successfully installed your Redman Spengler replacement tube for your Hasbro Neutrona wand. Hope this helped. Please enjoy. Thanks for watching.